Okay, testing 1, 2. Just making sure you can see me and hear me okay. Okay. We'll just give everybody a minute here to jump on in. Okay, let's see here. Make sure everything's working okay. Testing 1, 2. Cool, awesome. Looks like a bunch of you are already here. This is great. Thank you so much for joining me yet again. All right, we are going to be hanging out talking about licks today. And remember, one of the things we're going to be talking about is there's a new course that we have available. It's the Christmas Guitar Bundle, and you get a bunch of different stuff in there. That's one of the things that we're talking about today. So at some point, you're going to be able to click on a link. You're going to be able to check that out, see if it's something that you're interested in. And if you are, great. And if you're not, that's totally fine too. So basically what we're going to do today is we're going to be talking about licks. Now, I'm not going to show you like how to play 500 different licks because, again, it doesn't really do any good. We have a lot of different people in here right now, from beginners to players that have been playing a long time. So I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much for being here. So what I want to talk to you about is the development. What is a lick and how do we develop it and how do we manipulate it in a way that makes it functional for us, depending on where we are in our path. And you'll be able to, there'll be, licks and stuff like that available in the bundle. And again, you'll be able to check all that kind of stuff out. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to use the same backing track both today and in the next live session as well. So I'm going to make that available to you. It's just something I got off YouTube. And I don't remember what the name of the track is. I'll have to figure that out. But I'll give you an MP3 version of it, and you can just use it for the time being. But basically why I chose this, number one, it's in the key of E major, and number two, it's got some really great dynamics. So I'm going to figure out who did that track and let you know too. Because again, I think they did a wonderful job with it. I was just looking up something for us to kind of jam over, and I thought this would be great. So anyway, that's a really great way of doing that, is finding a track out on YouTube or finding something with GuitarZoom or whatever it might be, just something that works for you to try and practice to. And of course, you want the parameters to fit whatever it is that you're working on. If you're working on, the key of G major, the best thing you can do is find a track in G major, right? If you're working on something at 120 beats per minute, a lick or some sort of idea, you don't want to try it at 150 beats per minute. You might need a track that's a little bit slower. Or if you have any of the technology to slow down a track, there's things that you can get for your web browser to slow down music. There's software you can get, like I use a program called Amazing Slowdowner that I can put tracks in and I can slow them down. It works really great. So basically what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about what is a lick and how to further make it creative in a way that works for you, okay? So first of all, what is a lick? Well, for me, a lick is just a repeating idea. That's what a lick is something that repeats. Oftentimes people get mixed up with like the term lick and riff, okay? A riff for me, when you play, that's a riff, okay? It's something that defines a song, right? There's a million things I could play you like that. Right? Anything like that would be considered a riff. A lick, on the other hand, is an idea most of the time, out of some sort of scale that we do to repeat. So let's say we did something really basic, like let's say I was in the key of A, and I did this. You're going to know this right away. Right? That kind of Chuck Berry thing, right? As soon as you hear that, you know what it is. Now, again, it doesn't have to be defined by an artist or a genre, but you've heard that kind of thing before. So what I'm doing there, this is in the key of A, but what I'm doing is I'm bending the 7th fret of the 3rd string, and then I'm playing these two notes on the 5th fret of the 1st and 2nd strings. And I'm playing it twice. So I'm doing a grouping of 3. 1, 2, 3. So what kind of makes up a lick, other than the fact that it's repetitious, is that it has some sort of grouping and it has some sort of tempo or groove to it, okay? In this case, we're playing a group of 3. Does that mean that we're supposed to be in 3/4 time or something? No, it does not. It doesn't mean that at all. And that's what we're going to look at today. So I'm just going to show you a couple of real basic ideas of things and explain to you, coming from the last session that we did, the technical session, how you would approach this in a way that feels comfortable for you and create a lick. And this way, when you learn licks, whether you learn them from me or learn them from somebody else, when you learn a lick, you'll learn how to kind of manipulate that lick in a way that works better for what you're looking for, the style that you're playing, the the execution we talked about in the last session, how you're playing it. What were our 3? Construction. I forget what the other one was. It's been a while, but construction development. There we go, development. So in the developments, we talked about how sometimes you'll use different fingers or pick it a different way, all that kind of stuff. That's what we're going to be talking about today. And remember, there's going to be a link somewhere around here for you to check out that bundle. So please do that and see if it's something you're interested in. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start by just developing an idea. And in order to do that, we need to come out of a scale. Now, everybody on this live session right now might not know scales, and it's okay. All right? It's obviously something you're going to want to learn if you want to learn how soloing works. At some point, you're going to want to learn something about scales. It's cold here, so my mouth isn't working as well as it should. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to E major pentatonic. And again, we're not going to get off in the weeds. I just want to show you what this is in case you don't know. And then we're going to expand this as we keep going for those of you that are watching that have done more of this kind of stuff. So I'm going to the 12th fret of the 6th string. And then I'm going to go 9, 11, 9, 11 again, 9, 11 again, and then 9, 12, 9, 12. Okay, that's my E major scale. That's what I'm going to be using for our demonstrations for the things we're going to be doing here. So I'm going 12, 9, 11, 9, 11, 9, 11, and then 9, 12, 9, 12. Now, if you don't know much about scales, this is a wonderful thing that you can learn. You can learn about pentatonic scales, how to move them around in other keys, all kinds of different things, but that's not our discussion today. Our discussion is how to build licks out of something like this, and then how to expand that idea. So the first thing that I think about with licks is that they have to have a direction or a movement, okay? So basically what they're going to do is they're going to move down the fretboard some way in pitch, they're going to move up the fretboard some way in pitch, or they're going to go back and forth. That's kind of the first criteria of a guitar lick. So let's say, for instance, we were going to build a lick that went downwards. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the 12th fret of the 2nd string, and we're going to play 12, 9, and then 11, 9. Just that. So we're going. Just that. That's what we're playing, is 12, 9, 11, 9. Now, obviously, as you start building these licks, you're going to have to tap back into the last live session, because everything that you do on this instrument has to be developed. I mean, there's technique in everything, from a G chord to an arpeggio or a sweep to a speed picking thing to whatever song you want to play. There are elements of technique. You might not think of it that way because maybe you've been playing for a while and, some stuff is easier for you. But there was a time in your life where you had to think about those sorts of things. So it's always important to understand that each and every one of us is at some sort of place in our guitar journey. And our goal is to keep trying to formulate these things we're learning to make them more creative, more musical, tighter, cleaner, right? More accurate. Use whatever term you want, but that's the point of practice, is to make these things better. It's not just a matter of understanding something or knowing something. That's where I get hung up on theory a lot, is because people will go, well, I know my theory, and I don't care how much theory you know. If you can't apply things to the fretboard and make music with them, it's, again, you're just becoming an encyclopedia of words and terms and phrases. It has nothing to do with musicality. So always remember, when you learn things, at the end of the day, you want to convert that somehow into music. And this is why last time we also talked about avoiding learning way too much at once, to where you're just oversaturated with things and you're not really able to absorb ideas. For me, level 1 is you got to learn some chords. You can't play music without chords. You don't have to learn 100 of them. You could learn 3 of them or 4 of them. And then you got to start learning how to strum to those chords and move those chords back and forth. Well, what's a good vehicle to do that? A song. Not a song with the wrong chords, not a song that's way too fast, not a song that's in a really odd time signature. Again, don't set yourself up for failure. Something that fits what you're learning. And this is why, having a teacher or whatever is a really great idea, because you can find, somebody's already done the research and said, hey, if you're learning GCD, these are great songs to do, right? Or whatever it might be. So when it comes to licks, what we have to understand is that we're developing an idea that's going to repeat, okay? And this repeating idea needs to be done at a tempo. So that's the first thing we need to talk about. We've developed a key. We're in the key of E major. We've chosen a scale, which in this case is going to be E major pentatonic to begin with. Penta meaning 5. It's a 5-note scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, an octave higher, and then 1, we run out of strings. So again, don't get hung up in the scales if you don't really know these. This is the kind of information that you would want to learn. So you want to walk away from this session going, oh, I should learn a little bit about scales, or the pentatonic scale might be a great place to start. And it is, okay, for development of all this kind of stuff. So if we keep going now, I take this and I'm going to go to this 12, 9, 11, 9. Now, as I play these, I want to be aware of the fact that I'm playing 2 notes on 2 separate strings. And all the other strings, I want to try and deaden out the noise from those, right? I want to touch the strings I'm not playing. Otherwise, when I play, all those strings are going to start ringing out. So what I do is I always touch the strings I don't want with this hand and hold them. And then any strings that are underneath that I'm not using, I touch those with usually this first finger, but something on this hand. So right now I'm touching the top strings with this hand. I can still pick, of course. And then I'm touching the first string with this finger. So it's dead. And again, there's more to that, and you can learn all about this sort of thing in the bundle, but that's the first step, is cleaning this out. So I know what I want, but I also know what I don't want. And if I've got listeners, I want the listeners to hear what I want them to hear. I don't want them to experience the side effect, which is the noise that happens. We got to be careful of that sort of thing. So now as I start applying this to a realistic perspective, again, I've chosen a key. I'm in the key of E major. I've chosen a scale, which is the major pentatonic at this point. Okay, that's where these 4 notes are coming out of. And now we've got this track. So let's listen to this for a second. One, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's the roundabout tempo of this. So when I go to my guitar and I'm going to start creating this lick or applying this lick that I'm learning from wherever, right? My lick is, that's my lick. Now, if these are my quarter notes, okay, let's listen to it again. Okay, so now to create a lick, if I went in and I started doing quarter notes, it doesn't really sound like a lick because it's too slow. What it could be at that speed is some sort of melodic motif, we can call it. Some sort of melodic, like you've written a song and you're going, ah, right? Something like that. Might sound really great for something like that. That's not really a lick because it feels too slow. But if I did this, watch this. Makes for a great little lead line. And that's what we'll be talking more about next week when we talk about formulating some solos, okay? But we want to convert this into a lick, something that, again, this is creating a melody. There's nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, that's absolutely wonderful. But what we want to do is we want to bump this up in tempo to start giving it some energy. So if I've got quarter notes here, I need to bump this up twice as fast to my eighth notes. So 1 becomes 2. Okay, so now I have... And you can see how, as you keep bumping it up in tempo, it's going to become technically, last week, right, more difficult. But let's listen to that. Okay? Pretty good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to bump it up again. So instead of going or, we got to go to, so it's like quarter note to eighth note to 16th note. If you know that terminology, if you don't sweat it. I'm just going twice as fast each time. So now I'm on dun 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 dun. Now this might become a technical issue for some of you, right? And again, this is where you got to develop it, all that kind of thing, right? So I'm playing 12, 9, 11, 9. Now this is what it would sound like. Okay, so that's what it would sound like. Now, you're going to practice that, in whatever steps you need to, practicing it with a metronome a little bit slower, blah, 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 all these things that you could do. And again, we'll learn about those sorts of things. Or if you can kind of play it, then you got to start figuring out, well, what can I do to execute it properly? What development do I need to be thinking about to make this work for me properly, right? So here's an option, is maybe you start doing them as pull-offs, using legato playing, because it might make it easier for you. It might not. Picking might be the way to go for you, right? Which is what I'm doing right now. Whether you're picking them down, or you're picking them with alternate or down-up picking, right? Or if that's hard for you to do, maybe what you'll do is you'll do them as pull-offs, which means I'm playing the 12, I'm pulling off to the 9. See how I'm not picking it? And I'm doing the same thing from 11 to 9. Okay, that would be pull-offs. And again, if you don't know what that is, you're going to want to mark that down and go, boy, I really want to learn what pull-offs are. See, that's how this whole thing works, right? Is you're introduced to an idea, and it's not something that's light years away. Again, if you can't move from G to C for chords, I wouldn't be worrying about pull-offs, right? At least now, right? I would develop that first. I would learn how to play a number of different songs, develop these chords, all these kinds of things before I'd ever be worrying about scales. But if you've got a line on some of those things, and this is something that's interesting to you and you want to spend some time with it, there's nothing wrong with that at all. I just wouldn't invest all of my time into scales and licks if I don't know anything about chords and playing songs, right? I gotta find a good balance here. So let's go back now. Let's listen to these 16th notes. So you can see how that worked. I was moving with quarter notes, then I moved to eighth notes, and now I'm doing 16th notes, right? Da 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 da. And you can hear this repetition. Now, if I was capable, I could go another, and again, I'm not asking you to do that. I'm just showing you how this works. So now instead of going da 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 da, I could do that. So that would sound like this. It's all about execution. It doesn't mean the fastest one is better. That is not what it means. It just means what it tells me is at this tempo, I can do quarter notes and eighth notes and 16th notes and 32nd notes. That's what I can do. Okay? I can choose anything I want. So that's how the initial idea of a lick is developed. Now, let's say you could let's skip the 32nd note ones for right now. Let's go back to the 8th and 16th note ones. So not this one, but the dun, 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 dun. Let's go back to those two. So now what I could do is I could take that lick and I could start manipulating the rhythm of what I'm doing by doing something like this where I go. And again, you might be doing legato with some pull-offs, right? But notice how I'm moving back and forth between the 16th note and the 8th note to make it more interesting, rhythmically. And I could do 1 of one, or 2 of one, or 3 of one, and 1 of the other. I can do this any way I want to. That's the fun of this thing. Right? I've always referred to these as trees. I always think like, because it's bigger on the bottom and then it gets smaller on the top. That's kind of what's happening here is I'm just moving through this tree, playing slower and faster in whatever capacity I want. I can do as many of each one that I want, okay? So that's step number 1 with a lick, is developing its motion. In this case, it's going toward the ceiling or lower in pitch, da-da-da-da, right? Whatever. And then I'm developing the tempo at which I can execute this. Okay? Now, there's a couple things we could do from here. The first thing that we can do is we can then start manipulating how long we're spending on each one of the notes. Does it have to be even every time? Ba-da-da-da, right? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. No, we could go. So notice that now how I'm sitting on that 12. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Now let's listen to how that sounds. Now we have to try and make that fit somehow. So see how I'm making that fit rhythmically? Okay? So there's lots of really cool things like that that you can do. Okay? Another thing that I could do with this is I could change how many times I'm doing each string. So instead of going, I could do something where I'm going. So notice how I'm doing the second string once, and then the third string I'm doing 2 of them, right? Okay? Now, it's creating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 notes. Da 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 da. But it still fits with this because they're all 8th notes. We're still doing dun 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 16th notes. We're doing da 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 da. So we're doing 16th notes. I'm just doing groupings of 6 notes, but listen to how that sounds. So it sounds kind of cool, and I could, again, with this tree idea, I could swap them all. I could do anything I want like that. I have to develop it so I can execute it, but that's the fun of learning a lick, is all the different ways that you can manipulate it. So we first manipulate it by deciding the tempo. Now we're deciding how the grouping is going to work, right? I stayed longer on that 12. Now this time I'm playing some of them more. Now that'd be the 32nd note, but listen to how cool it sounds. Okay? I mean, again, our ultimate goal isn't 32nd notes. The point is that you can just do some really neat stuff. Maybe instead of going da-da-da-da-da-da, I go da-da-da-da-da-da. Which will become kind of like a Zakk Wylde lick. You know, he'll do the top one twice and then move down. See, so that's one way that you can manipulate that too. Oh, and I forgot, do me a favor. I need to find this video. We're going to try and insert this. So Derek, if you're out there, if you can help me with this. We've got this video we want to show you to check out the Christmas guitar bundle to see if it's something that you're interested in. And then as soon as this is over, it's not very long. And then we're just going to head on in. We're going to keep going. I'm going to show you some other things that you can do with this. All right. So check this out if you're ready, Derek. Today, you can click the Yes, I Want This Christmas Bundle button to get instant lifetime access to 6 brand new guitar courses on playing songs by ear, licks, soloing, jamming, and more that I'll reveal in the next few minutes of this video. So pay close attention to the message so you can see if it's right for you. Hi, I'm Steve Stine, and I want you to play your favorite songs without looking up tabs, or play solos that burn up the fretboard, that people will love because they sound great and look effortless, and ultimately have more fun playing guitar and have the confidence to jam with fellow musicians. Then keep watching this video, because you're about to discover a simple way to play songs by ear, massively increase your picking speed and accuracy, mix and match killer licks to create awe-inspiring solos across the fretboard, and play anything you want on guitar. But there's one big problem that's holding you back. It's something I've seen again and again in my 35 years of being a guitar teacher to hundreds of thousands of guitar players worldwide. That big problem is only having bits and pieces of the guitar playing puzzle figured out, and not seeing how everything fits together to be a complete, confident, well-rounded guitar player. In fact, you've probably felt frustrated and confused for years. Now, the good news is that it's not your fault, because you were never given a simple step-by-step plan of guitar courses to follow to see real, noticeable improvements in your guitar playing every day. That's why I created the Ultimate Christmas Bundle. The Ultimate Christmas Bundle gives you instant online access to 6 new guitar courses to skyrocket your guitar playing. You'll get Learn to Play Songs by Ear. As a guitar player, one thing you probably want is the complete freedom to play any song. In fact, you've probably already spent hours trying to figure out songs using YouTube videos or online guitar tabs, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I bet you've noticed that both of these waste a lot of your time. Not only that, sometimes they're just plain wrong, and then you end up frustrated and may even pick up some bad habits that will hold you back for years. Ultimately, you don't develop the skill to hear the music and figure it out quickly in your head, which is a skill that you really want to develop if you ever want to play with other musicians. But there's an easy way to get around all that. It's exactly what pro musicians use to learn songs in minutes, and the good news is that even a beginner can use this skill to figure out songs without having to look up any tabs. It's called ear training, and that's exactly what I'll show you in my new course, Learn to Play Songs by Ear. I'll show you simple ways to figure out the chord progressions to songs in minutes, because there's a big secret most guitar players never hear about. Thousands of popular songs in rock, pop, and blues use the same chord progression. It's called the 1-4-5. Don't believe me? Check out what Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits has to say.
When you learn your first chords and you're going... That's a very basic kind of... That's your 1 chord. And here's your 4 chord. And your 5 chord. The same chords in the B and a blues. It's the same chords, your 1 chord, and then the bit that would be that. It'd be the same thing. So it's the same. It's really all the same music.
When you realize that you can cut the time it takes to learn new songs in half. It also works for solos. Imagine what it will feel like when you're hanging out playing music with your friends and someone says, "Hey, can you play this song?" And instead of freezing up, you say, "Give me 10 minutes." You'll quickly download it on your phone, listen to it, and within a few minutes you'll have the chord progression down. You go through it a couple of times on your own just to make sure you have the chord changes down. Then you say, "I got it, let's try it with everyone." With the skill of ear training, you can even watch another guitarist start playing and anticipate what will come next, because you'll already have learned the skills of common chord progressions and what to listen for. So the rhythm section starts things off and you launch into the chord progression. Your fingers are nailing each chord without any hesitation. Everyone's smiling and having a great time playing music together. And you even have a killer idea for a solo, but more on that later in this video. Now that skill alone is worth your entire investment in the Ultimate Christmas Bundle, but we're just getting started, because you'll get Picking Booster. You may not believe it, but your guitar pick is the biggest amplifier that there is. You can change the whole tone of a song or lick just by how hard or soft you pick it, without having to adjust the volume. That's why your picking technique is so important. You want to play clean and clear without tripping over your fingers or hitting dead notes. You want to learn to play fast solos for real and not fake your way through. That's why I've also included my new Picking Booster course to help you massively improve your picking speed and accuracy. I'll show you my best tips and tricks to build your finger strength, stamina, and most importantly, hand synchronization. So your left hand is hitting every note that your right hand is picking, which is something 98% of guitar players never get right. Now this will work for you even if you have weak hands or fingers, or you feel like you've tried everything. And it's a total game changer when you're learning solos by players like Eddie Van Halen or Kirk Hammett. It's also ultra impressive. But we're just getting started, because over my 30 years of playing and teaching guitar to hundreds of thousands of guitar players across the world, I've noticed another huge problem. Most guitar players don't really know how to solo. Sure, they might know a few scales and how to play them across the fretboard, but they have no idea how to play solos with feeling, like Eric Clapton explains in this video.
And for me, I just start singing. But I do it with the guitar. That's the groove, and it will be, that's just me singing, really. It's just really, all it is a voice. You know, it's got nothing to do with technique at all. Experience maybe of, you know, having confidence in knowing that what you hear in your head you can do with your hand. But apart from that, it's not any cleverness at all, it's just feeling.
That's why you'll get my new course, Major Key Soloing. Now this soloing course is unlike any soloing courses that I've ever created, because it's entirely focused on creating solos that sound like you're singing in major keys. Now why is that important? Because most guitar players only learn to solo in minor keys, like you hear in some classic rock and tons of blues songs. But here's the big problem with that. Spotify recently analyzed 30 million songs in their database and found that more than half of the songs are written in major keys. That means you're missing out on soloing over thousands of popular songs like Sweet Home Alabama by Lynyrd Skynyrd, Jessica by the Allman Brothers Band, Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd, and many, many more. Just like every other guitar player who just noodles around out there and doesn't put things together. I want more for you than that, and in Major Key Soloing, I've made soloing over major key songs easy. I'll take you by the hand using a hit song you'll instantly recognize and show you how to create a jaw-dropping major key solo over it. Best of all, this can be applied to any major key song you want to solo over. Now, with your new soloing skills, you're going to need some licks. So in the Ultimate Christmas Bundle, you'll also get my 21 Legato Licks course. Now, 21 Legato Licks builds on every previous course that I've talked about. You're already able to hear chord progressions and figure out songs in minutes with Learn Songs by Ear. Your picking speed and accuracy has skyrocketed with Picking Booster, and every note you play is coming out clean and clear. You're now soloing with complete confidence with major key soloing, and now you're ready to add some jaw-dropping licks to your arsenal. That's why I've also included 21 Legato Licks. Now these licks are the perfect complement to your guitar solos. They're not basic licks that every other guitar player knows. These are awe-inspiring licks that feel awesome to play and make anyone listening say, "Wow, what was that?" I've broken each lick down step by step so you'll know exactly where to put your fingers and won't have to worry about hitting wrong notes. And you'll be able to mix and match them to play solos faster and better than you ever thought possible, which will make you a true lead guitar player who knows how to tell a story with your guitar solos. So everyone listening hangs on every note that you play. But I've taken everything a step further, because the truth is, there's no better way to continually improve your soloing than jamming. And while I was making this Ultimate Christmas Bundle, I thought, what better way to wire in everything to learn songs faster and play amazing solos than jamming with me personally? So I've included something I've never offered before. You'll get my new collection of interactive jams. Now, I recorded these interactive jams to simulate how to improve your rhythm and soloing in the real world. You'll get several jams in different styles where I show you how to play the chord progression. Now, I know that might not sound exciting, but remember, 95% of the time, a guitar player is focused on rhythm. That's why it's part of the rhythm section. And once you know what's going on with the rhythm, you'll have the tools to create a plan for your solo. But that's where things get really cool with these interactive jams when it comes to soloing. I've recorded them so that you and I can trade licks back and forth. So you're improving your soloing and learning how to play with another musician, which improves your sense of rhythm, timing, and phrasing. So your solos sound like an extension of the song rather than a bunch of random notes strung together. And I'll be adding new interactive jams throughout the year, so you'll have an entire library of jams to improve your soloing for years to come. Finally, you get my Motivation Vault. Now, these are short, focused guitar lessons with one golden nugget to improve your guitar playing in the shortest time possible. They cover specific topics like learning songs, picking, strumming, creating a practice routine, blues, and of course soloing. Think of them like a weekly dose of motivation to keep you progressing on your guitar journey. Now, they've never been offered for sale before, and you can only get them when you place your order today. You'll also get a progress tracker for each course and membership in our private Facebook community where thousands of members hang out and share their passion for guitar playing and encourage each other to contribute in a positive and encouraging way. Your Ultimate Christmas Bundle gives you lifetime access to learn to play songs by ear, picking booster, major key soloing, 21 legato licks, my interactive jams, and Motivation Vault, and has a total value of $414. But you won't even pay close to the retail value of $414 for the Ultimate Christmas Bundle. Not $300, not $150, not even half that. Your total investment today for the Ultimate Christmas Bundle is just 3 easy payments of $19.60. And if you want to save 20% today, you just select this one and done payment option when you check out. But you need to act fast because this is only available until the big timer hits 0 on this page. So click the Yes, I Want This Christmas Bundle button below to get the Ultimate Christmas Bundle now. And you're protected by my 30-day guarantee. Truly put your Ultimate Christmas Bundle to the test for a full 30 days and see if it's right for you. If you don't think it's a good fit, no big deal. Just contact our friendly support team and they'll issue you a full refund or exchange. No questions asked, no receipt required. However, I can only offer this price for a short time. Once the big timer hits 0, this page will be removed and you'll miss out. So click the button below to get the Ultimate Christmas Bundle today, which gives you lifetime access to 6 all-new courses. Learn to play songs by ear, picking booster, major key soloing, 21 legato licks, my interactive jams, and Motivation Vault before the big timer hits 0. And have a Merry Christmas. Okay, so we're back now. What we're going to be doing here is we're going to go the other direction. Same ideas. But what we're going to do is we're going to head over here and we're going to start doing 9, 12 on the second string, and then 9, 12 on the first string. So this is going to feel a little bit different because now you're going the other direction. Okay, but again, same rules apply. Let me start this. Let me start with quarter notes, go to 8th notes, go to 16th notes, and so on. Just so you can hear this. So our quarter notes would be here. Bum, 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 bum. 8th notes. 16th notes, or hammer-ons, which we'll talk about. Here's 32nd notes. Same rules are applying here. Now, when I go fast, I can do what's called a hammer-on. When we were going backwards, we called it a pull-off, right, where we flick the string. Now we're doing hammer-ons, which is where I play the 9 and I hammer my pinky down on the 12th fret. So it's acting like the guitar pick. It's smacking that string. And again, notice how I'm keeping all those other strings quiet as I'm doing this. Now I could do all of the same things that I just did, right? All the same manipulations could happen here doing the same thing. Now, if you've done this sort of thing before and maybe you've done some soloing and you want something a little bit more advanced, this is where I would start changing out some of the notes that we're playing, okay? I would start swapping things out to make it more interesting. Maybe I still keep that lick, but what I do is I start looking for something else. So instead of playing 9, 12, 9, 12, I might play 9, 12, 9, 14. Because the 14 is part of the E major pentatonic. It's just the next position, right? If you know that. And if you don't, again, don't sweat it. I'm not trying to talk over your head. I'm just saying that there's a lot of different ways that I can do this to make it more interesting by changing up the notes. Instead of just playing 9, 12 in this E minor pentatonic the whole time, I could do something else, okay? So if I did that, it's gonna sound a little bit more interesting, or backwards. You know, I really like the sound of that. That's something that I would definitely do, okay? Same stuff would apply. I could play 9, 14, 9, 14. And that's going to sound even weirder because now when I play this 14, it's that 9. They're the same note on two different strings. So as I'm doing this lick now, there's a double in the center that freaks the brain out a little bit because you're doing the same thing technically, right? But because there's that double of that note, it sounds kind of cool. So if we listen to this now, go back to this. Right? Whatever it might be. Now, I don't have to do that. I could go back, I mean, because I like the sound of this too. But that's a really great way of being able to do something like that, okay? So there's lots of different ways we can do this. The one I want to end on here is a back and forth, because this is something that's really important as you keep developing your ability to play licks and learning how to solo and all that kind of stuff. And basically what we're going to do here is I'm going to take and go to the 12 on the first string, the 9 on the first string, and then the 12 on the second string, but that's all. So I'm going to make a back and forth pattern where I'm going to play 12, 9, 12, back to the 9. So my pattern is still grouped in 4 at this point, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So instead of doing that thing, I'm going back. Now technically it does make it a little more difficult because you can't just do pull-offs the entire time, you know, doing that. So again, there's nothing wrong with that. It's not like everything I'm showing you is just better and better and better. It's just different, okay? So now, the key to this lick, and this is a really important lick when you're playing blues or rock or metal, is this kind of repetition thing. So what I'm doing is a pull-off, picking the 12, and then picking the 9. This sucker can get really fast if you do it right, but this comes back to that development thing, and I'm going to show you this. And again, if you're not ready for this, it's okay. I just want to show you this because in order to execute an idea of what I'm doing, 12, 9, 12, 9, right back to that same 9. In order to do this, it all comes down to the way that you're picking it. Now, you still have to develop the hand and the strength and all that kind of stuff, but it will not work if you don't pick it correctly. So the trick to the picking is that when you start this lick, start it with an up, and I'll show you why in a second, and then you do your pull-off. And then when you go to this 12 and this 9, you're going to do both of those with the down. You push through. Now, for some of you out there, you've ever heard the term like sweep picking, that sort of thing, or economy picking? That's what we're doing right now. I'm pushing the 12 and the 9 in one pick stroke. I'm not doing this. Call it like a chicken eating, like plucking, right? Chicken pecking, right? Because you'd always be as slow as this. You'll never go any faster than that because your hand has to keep trying to come back up and go back down. The trick with this economy picking is it's like playing a chord. You're pushing through. And what you're doing is you are separating the 12 and the 9 with this hand. So you're in control. This hand's just pushing through. That's where the speed comes from. Because once you push through, you do your up on your 12, pull off, and then you push through. And that's where that speed comes from, is that push through and then that pull up. So we're doing an up with a pull off, and then down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up. So all we're doing is picking twice. We're pushing through twice, right? That's a downstroke, and then an upstroke that has a freebie, that pull off. So we have down, up, down, up. That's all it is. We're getting 4 notes for the price of 2 picking strokes. Down, down is 1, and then the up with the pull off is the other one. So it takes time, and again, this is where the development is. Now you might look at this and go, I would never need that. Well, that's great. Now you know what you don't need, and you don't need to practice it. Or you might be going, I can see the value of something like that. Like for me, I use these where I'll be going, I'll do all kinds of little things like that where I'm adding these in for different kinds of things because I've created this thing, right? This motion. I've developed it to the point where I can execute it. So I can do it in whatever key, in whatever position, in whatever scale, I can use that. So I'm not limited by being an E major in this position. Once I've developed the technical ability to do it, all I have to do is change the notes that I'm playing, but the execution is still the same, you see? So that's something to think about a little bit. So again, do me a favor, check out the bundle, see if it's something that you're interested in, and don't worry if it feels like I'm talking a little bit over your head. I'm trying to appeal to everybody with this. So you don't have to just focus on the fast stuff. You can focus on, okay, if I just start with this thing and learn how to play that, I can use that in a very melodic sense or a bit of a repetition, at eighth notes or whatever it might be. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a great place to start. And it might be exactly what your song or your solo or whatever it is you're doing might need, okay? But the most important thing as we talk about all this stuff is for you as an individual, as a guitar player, to keep flushing out what it is that you need, what it is that is the next level from where you are right now, right? You want to harness and control and manipulate and further develop the things that you already own. Your chords, your scales, your whatever, your strumming, whatever, that you already own. And then you start developing these things directly on the outside of that are directly connected to whatever this is, right? And then you just keep going and going. The scary thing is if you don't want to, just get so excited that you just start jumping all over. If you're doing, if you're learning just various things because you're excited about it, that's fine. But then don't let it get you down if you can't figure out how to, kind of bring all that information back into the sphere that is you, right? Because there might be things missing right here that you need to develop. And that's why we have these conversations, is for you to look and go, I get it. I see what I need. I'm missing this, and this is what I need to work on. Or I'd love to learn how to do this, but I need to develop this and this and this to get there, right? Or I'm right there, and what I need to do is I need to keep trying to work on making this even better. Whatever it is, whatever your case is, okay? My goal is to try and get you to enjoy the journey. That's what this is all about. It doesn't mean that you're not going to get frustrated, because you will. If you get frustrated, it probably means you're doing it right. But if you're always looking at yourself going, I'm not good enough, and I can't do this, and my friends can do this, or this players that I like can do this, and I can't do this, you got to keep reminding yourself that at some point they couldn't do it either. How did they get there? Through development, through study, right? We got to start with learning how to think about things. We have to create and customize and study, right? That's what development is all about. So I always think of it this way. You have an influx of information. I'm talking to you right now and I'm throwing things at you. And some of it you can use and some of it you can't use. And you have to sift through that and go, this makes sense to me. This is something that I need. Or this, he had mentioned this, I can see how learning scales or learning whatever might be beneficial to me. Learning some licks might be beneficial to me, whatever it is. But I can see how that really doesn't fit into my sphere of study or what I want to be when I grow up or whatever it might be, right? Just keep thinking of it that way, because the most important thing is that you stay on your journey. You stay motivated, and even if you get frustrated, you know where you're going, okay? And in order, again, I don't want to keep talking your ear off, but it's important you understand this, because the more you understand about who you are and what you can do and the things that you can't do and which ones of those things you want to do and how to build a bridge to those. And all along, you're going to keep being introduced to things that maybe you don't need. I don't need that, and I don't need this, and I don't need this, but I can see that I need that. So how do I get from here to there? That's the whole thing with studying. And the better you get at understanding that, the quicker you'll get to the goals that you want. All right? So take care, stay positive. The next time we meet, we're going to be talking about soloing. And learning how to create an effective solo, and I'm probably going to use this same track again, just because it's pretty dynamic and it works pretty well. So we're going to talk about that, okay? So take care, stay positive, keep practicing. Derek is around here somewhere to answer your questions, and check out the bundle, see if it's something that you could utilize, and I'll talk to you all soon, all right? Thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you again.